Kim Ji-hoon wiped the sweat from his forehead as he walked through the massive greenhouse domes of his farm on New Terra. The morning sun filtered through the reinforced glass, casting long shadows across rows of perfectly aligned hydroponic systems. Water bubbled softly through nutrient tubes while automated sensors monitored every plant's health in real time. His farm wasn't just any ordinary agricultural setup. It was a masterpiece of human engineering that could feed nearly half the colonies. 12,000 residents. The tomatoes grew larger and juicier than anything back on Earth. The peppers carried flavors so intense that visiting traders from the Centauri system would pay triple the standard rate just to get TH. Our hands on a few pounds. Ji-hoon had spent 15 years perfecting this operation after arriving on New Terra as part of the third wave of human colonists. Back then, the red soil was barren and hostile. Alien microorganisms in the ground would kill Earth crops within days. Most settlers had given up on traditional farming and relied on processed food shipments from the home world. But Ji-hoon was different. As a former military engineer who had built supply systems on Mars and the Jupiter mining stations, he understood that humans succeeded by adapting and innovating. He developed a closed-loop hydroponic system that filtered out hostile microbes, while recycling every drop of precious water. His plants never touched the alien soil, but thrived in carefully controlled nutrient baths. The breakthrough came when he discovered that New Terra's unique mineral composition, when properly processed, actually enhanced plant growth. His tomatoes began growing twice as fast as Earth varieties. His peppers developed complex flavors that made them a delicacy across the sector soon. Merchant ships from distant star systems were making regular stops at New Terra just to trade. For Ji-hoon's produce, success, however, brought unexpected problems. Park Miron lived in the residential complex next to his farm. She was one of those people who believed that individual achievement was somehow unfair to everyone else. Every few days, she would show up at his greenhouse claiming that the colony's resources should be shared equally among all residents. Ji-hoon, these plants are growing on New Terra soil, she would argue, completely ignoring the fact that his crops never actually touched the ground. The sunlight here belongs to all of us. The water comes from our shared reservoirs. Why should you get to keep everything? The first time she took some vegetables, Ji-hoon thought it was just a misunderstanding. Maybe she was having financial troubles or needed food for her family. He politely explained that farming required enormous investment in equipment, seeds, nutrients, and years of experimentation. The crops weren't free resources, but the result of hard work and innovation. Miron just laughed. You sound like those greedy corporations back on Earth. We came to the stars to build a better society, not to repeat the same mistakes. Her visits became more frequent and more brazen. She would arrive with bags and containers, filling them with his best produce, while lecturing him about social responsibility. When Ji-hoon tried to stop her, she would create loud scenes that attracted other colonists. Some actually started agreeing with her arguments about shared resources and community ownership. Look at his fancy equipment, she would tell anyone who would listen. While we're eating processed rations, he's hoarding the best food for himself. Is this the kind of society we want to build out here among the stars? Ji-hoon filed multiple complaints with colony security. But Chief Administrator Han Woo-jin was more focused on dealing with periodic raids by space pirates and maintaining the mining operations that kept New Terra economically viable. A few stolen vegetables seemed like a minor issue compared to keeping the fusion reactors running and the orbital defense systems operational. The situation escalated when Miron started bringing friends. Lee So-man from the communications center would help her identify the ripest crops. Choi Dae-ho from the maintenance department knew the security patrol schedules. Young Yunji from the medical facility claimed she needed fresh vegetables for patients, though Ji-hoon noticed she always took the most expensive varieties. They had turned theft into a social movement, convincing themselves they were fighting for justice rather than simply taking what didn't belong to them. Miran even started posting messages on the colony's information network, describing Ji-hoon as a selfish hoarder who refused to share the planet's bounty with his fellow humans. Ji-hoon watched his profits disappear while his reputation suffered. Worse, other colonists began demanding free food, claiming that Miran had proven it was their right. The careful balance of his business was crumbling, and with it, the food security of the entire colony. That's when his military training kicked in. As an engineer who had solved supply problems in hostile environments across the solar system, Ji-hoon knew that some challenges required creative solutions. If colonial authorities couldn't protect his property, he would have to protect it himself, using the one thing that had always made humans successful among the stars: superior engineering and the willingness to fight for what they built. Ji-hoon retreated to his workshop behind the main greenhouse, a cluttered space filled with spare parts from decommissioned spacecraft and mining equipment. The walls were covered with engineering schematics from his military days, including detailed blueprints of the waste management systems he had designed for the Mars colonies and asteroid mining station. He pulled up the colony's infrastructure plans on his holographic display. New Terra's sewage processing network was a marvel of human engineering, designed to handle waste from 12,000 colonists while recycling every possible resource. The system used gravitational flow and pressure differentials to move waste through a series of treatment facilities before converting it into fertilizer and reclaimed water. What most colonists didn't realize was that Ji-hoon had actually helped design this system when he first arrived on New Terra. The original colonial engineers had struggled with the alien bacteria that contaminated traditional waste treatment methods. Ji-hoon's modifications had saved the colony from a potential health crisis. Though he had never received official credit for the work, now he would use that knowledge for a different purpose. The main sewage line ran directly under his greenhouse complex, just 3 meters below the surface. With careful engineering, he could create a secondary network that would serve as his security system. Ji-hoon began working at night, using his maintenance access codes to enter the underground tunnels. The colony's automated systems tracked his movements, but his credentials as a former infrastructure consultant gave him legitimate reasons to be in the service areas. He told anyone who asked that he was upgrading the filtration systems to improve crop irrigation. The engineering challenge was complex. He needed to create a pressure-sensitive trigger system that could differentiate between his own footsteps and those of intruders. Using salvage motion sensors from old patrol drones, he installed a network of detection devices throughout the greenhouse floor. Each sensor was calibrated to recognize his specific walking pattern and biometric signature. The real innovation came in the delivery system, rather than simply flooding the area with raw sewage. Ji-hoon designed a sophisticated spray mechanism, using parts from atmospheric processes and terraforming equipment. High-pressure nozzles, originally designed to distribute chemicals for soil conditioning, could be repurposed to deliver a thorough soaking to anyone who triggered the sensors. He connected everything to the colony's waste processing network through a series of hidden valves and bypass systems. When activated, the system would divert treated sewage from the main processing facility into his custom delivery network. The waste would be processed enough to be non-toxic, but still thoroughly unpleasant. To make the system even more effective, Ji-hoon added automated recording devices, using cameras and sensors salvaged from security drones. He created a comprehensive surveillance network that would document any intrusion attempts. The footage would automatically upload to the colony's security database, providing undeniable evidence of theft, while Ji-hoon worked on his engineering project. Miran was busy organizing her own operation. She had convinced Lee Soo-man that Ji-hoon's hoarding was preventing proper nutrition for the colony's children. Soo-man, who worked in the communications center, had access to patrol schedules and security protocols. Choi Dae-ho from the maintenance department provided inside knowledge about the greenhouse's layout and security systems. He knew which entrances were monitored and which paths would avoid the standard patrol routes. His access to colony blueprints helped them plan the most efficient routes through Ji-hoon's crops. Yang Yoon-ji from the medical facility had been the easiest to recruit. She genuinely believed that fresh vegetables would help her patients recover faster from various ailments. Miran had convinced her that Ji-hoon was deliberately withholding medicine in the form of nutritious food. Their plan was ambitious. Instead of taking small amounts over all visits, they would coordinate a major harvest during the peak ripening season. Soo-man had identified a 3-day window when the security patrols would be focused on the northern sector, where recent seismic activity had damaged some mining equipment. Miran had even recruited additional helpers from the younger colonists who felt frustrated with their limited food options. Park Jin-young from the engineering corps and Kim Min-ji from the atmospheric processing station both agreed to help carry the harvest back to the residential areas. They planned to enter through the maintenance access tunnel that Dae-ho had used during routine repairs. From there, they could reach the prize greenhouse section where Ji-hoon grew his most valuable crops. The plan was to fill as many containers as possible and distribute the food throughout the colony. Before Ji-hoon even realized what had happened, what none of them knew was that Ji-hoon had been monitoring their communications through the same security network he was installing. His engineering background included electronic surveillance from his military days, and he had quietly tapped into their planning sessions as Miran's group prepared for their biggest theft yet. Ji-hoon made final adjustments to his defensive system. The pressure sensors were calibrated perfectly. The delivery mechanisms had been tested with water to ensure proper coverage. The recording systems were synchronized with the colony's main database. Everything was ready for a demonstration of human engineering ingenuity that would solve his theft problem once and for all, while accidentally revolutionizing the colony's entire waste management infrastructure. The colony's 3 moons cast eerie shadows across New Terra's landscape as Miran's group approached Ji-hoon's greenhouse complex. The night shift security patrol had just passed, heading toward the mining sector where automated ore processes hummed in the distance. Perfect timing. Just as Choi Dae-ho had predicted from his analysis of the patrol schedules, Miran led the way, carrying the largest collection bags she could find. Behind her, Lee Soo-man adjusted her portable scanner that could detect the ripest fruits without damaging them. Yang Yoon-ji had brought medical containers, claiming they were sterile and perfect for transporting delicate vegetables. Park Jin-young and Kim Min-ji followed with wheeled carts salvaged from the cargo bay of a decommissioned transport ship. "Remember, we take only what we need," Miran whispered, though her definition of need had grown considerably over the past weeks. Ji-hoon has been keeping the best food for himself while families go hungry. Tonight we fix that. In justice, they reached the maintenance tunnel entrance that Dae-ho had left unlocked during his last official repair visit. The heavy metal door opened with a soft hiss, revealing a corridor lit by emergency lighting. The tunnel connected to the greenhouse's underground irrigation system, providing direct access to the growing areas without triggering the main security sensors. What they didn't know was that Ji-hoon sat in his control room, watching their every move on multiple screens. Hidden cameras tracked their progress through the tunnel system. Motion sensors recorded their heat signatures. Audio pickups captured their whispered conversations about which crops to target first. His engineering masterpiece was ready for activation. The pressure-sensitive floor panels had been installed with military precision throughout the prize greenhouse section. Each panel was connected to the modified sewage delivery system through a network of pipes and valves that would make any spacecraft engineer proud. They're almost at the main growing area. Ji-hoon muttered to himself, fingers poised over the activation controls. Let's see how they like a taste of human problem-solving. The thieves emerged from the tunnel into the greenhouse's central corridor. Rows of perfect tomatoes hung heavy on their vines, glowing red under the artificial growing lights. Pepper plants stretched toward the ceiling, their colorful fruits promising flavors that visiting alien traders would pay premium prices to obtain. Look at all this, Soman whispered in amazement. He's got enough food here to feed half the colony. For weeks, Miran stepped confidently onto the growing platform, her boots making soft contact with what appeared to be ordinary metal flooring. The first pressure sensor registered her weight and transmitted the signal to Ji-hoon's control system. More sensors activated as the other thieves spread out across the forbidden area. Ji-hoon watched the sensor readings climb on his display screen. Red warning lights indicated an authorized presence throughout his most valuable growing sections. The system had detected 5 intruders, all moving deeper into areas they had no right to access. Activation in 3, 2, 1. He said, pressing the master control button. The response was immediate and spectacular. Hidden nozzles erupted from the floor panels with the force of spacecraft thruster systems. High-pressure jets of processed sewage shot upward like geysers, powered by the colony's main waste processing pumps that Ji-hoon had cleverly redirected for this moment. Miran's scream echoed through the greenhouse as brown liquid engulfed her from head to toe. The smell hit her before she could even process what was happening. She stumbled backward, slipping on the now slick metal flooring, her arms windmilling as she tried to maintain balance. Soman dropped her scanner as sewage sprayed across her face and uniform. The device shattered against the floor, its expensive components mixing with the flowing waste. She gagged and retched, trying to wipe the mess from her eyes while more jets continued firing round her. Young Yunji's sterile medical containers were no longer sterile. The pristine white plastic turned brown as processed waste filled every container she had brought. Her carefully planned theft had turned into a nightmare of contamination that would require hours of decontamination procedures. Park Jin-young and Kim Min-ji tried to run back toward the tunnel entrance, but the slippery floor made escape impossible. They crashed into each other, both sliding whole meters across the waste-covered surface before coming to rest against a support pillar from hidden compartments throughout the greenhouse. Ji-hoon's automated security drones emerged like mechanical vultures. These weren't the standard colony patrol units, but modified reconnaissance drones he had built using parts from old mining robots. Each drone was equipped with high-resolution cameras and audio recording equipment. The drones circled the chaos below, their mechanical whirring mixing with the screams and curses of the trap thieves. Every angle was recorded in perfect detail. The footage automatically uploaded to the colony's security database and Ji-hoon's personal archives. "Get these things away from us," Miran shouted, swatting at one of the drones while trying to stand on the treacherous surface. The drone easily avoided her clumsy attempts, its advanced maneuvering systems keeping it safely out of reach, while maintaining perfect footage of her predicament. In his control room, Ji-hoon smiled with satisfaction as he watched his engineering triumph unfold. The system worked exactly as designed. The pressure sensors had detected the intruders with perfect accuracy. The delivery system had provided thorough coverage of all targets. The drones were documenting everything for posterity and legal evidence. "That's what happens when you underestimate human ingenuity," he said to himself, already planning the improvements he could make to the system for future deployments across the colony. Chief Administrator Han Wujin arrived at the greenhouse complex within an hour of receiving the security alert. The automated systems had flagged unusual activity in the waste management network, triggering protocols that required immediate investigation. What he found was beyond anything he could have imagined. 5 colonists sat in the decontamination chamber, still dripping with processed sewage despite multiple cleaning cycles. The smell was overwhelming, even through the facility's advanced air filtration systems. Miran glared defiantly from her containment seat while the others looked, thoroughly defeated and embarrassed. "This is assault," Miran shouted through the chamber's communication system. "Dihun deliberately attacked us with biological waste. He could have killed us with contamination." Wujin ignored her protests and focused on the technical readings, streaming across his portable display. Something extraordinary was happening in the colony's waste processing network. Efficiency readings showed improvements he had never seen before in 15 years of colonial administration. Dr. Kang Haijun, the colony's chief environmental engineer, arrived with a team of technicians carrying scanning equipment and sample containers. She had been monitoring the waste treatment facility when the systems suddenly showed massive performance increases. "Administrator Wujin, you need to see these numbers," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "Our waste processing efficiency has jumped by over 300% in the last 6 hours. The entire network is running smoother than it has since we established the colony." They made their way to Jihun's control room, where he was reviewing footage from his security drones. The screens showed detailed recordings of the thieves' encounter with his defensive system, but Wujin was more interested in the engineering schematics displayed on the secondary monitors. "Explain this system to me, Jihun," Wujin said, studying the complex network of pipes, sensors, and control mechanisms. "How did you create this modification without disrupting our main infrastructure?" Jihun pulled up the full engineering plans he had developed over the past weeks. What had started as a simple security measure had evolved into something far more sophisticated. His background in military engineering had led him to create redundant systems and efficiency improvement that went far beyond his original intention. "I needed to redirect waste flow through pressure-controlled valves," Jihun explained, highlighting different sections of his design. "But I realized the colony's current system was wasting enormous amounts of energy through inefficient routing. My modifications created multiple pathways that balanced the load across the entire network." Dr. Kang studied the schematics with growing amazement. As the colony's environmental engineer, she had been struggling with waste processing bottlenecks for years. The system worked, but it was always operating at maximum capacity with no room for expansion or improvement. "Look at these flow calculations," she said to Wujin. "He's created a dynamic routing system that automatically adjusts based on demand and pressure differentials. This isn't just a security trap. It's a complete infrastructure upgrade." The implications were staggering. New Terra processed waste from 12,000 colonists plus industrial operations from the mining facilities and spacecraft maintenance bays. The current system required constant monitoring and frequent repairs due to overload conditions. Jihun's modifications had somehow solved problems that Dr. Kang hadn't even realized could be fixed. "The pressure sensors don't just detect intruders," Jihun continued his explanation. "They monitor flow rates throughout the network and automatically adjust valve positions to optimize efficiency. When the system activated last night, it was actually demonstrating real-time load balancing under stress conditions." Wujin contacted the Colonial Engineering Council via subspace communication, transmitting the technical specifications to the Central Review Board on Earth. Within hours, responses came back from engineering experts across human space. Nobody had seen anything like Ji-hoon's integrated approach to waste management and security systems, the timing couldn't have been better. The Colonial Expansion Authority had been struggling with infrastructure problems on Nua. Settlements' traditional waste processing systems required enormous power consumption and constant maintenance. Many frontier colonies were operating at the edge of sustainability because their environmental systems couldn't keep up with population growth. This design could be implemented across every human settlement in the galaxy, Dr. Kang reported. To the Colonial Engineering Council, the efficiency improvements would reduce power consumption, lower maintenance requirements, and provide room for a population expansion without rebuilding entire infrastructure networks. Meanwhile, Miran and her accomplices faced serious legal consequences. The security footage provided undeniable evidence of theft, trespassing, and conspiracy. But their punishment was complicated by an unexpected development. Several of them were actually needed for the implementation of Ji-hoon's new system. Choi Daeho's knowledge of maintenance procedures made him essential for training other technicians. Lee Summons' communication skills were required for coordinating the upgrade across different colony departments. Even Yang Yunji's medical expertise was valuable for ensuring the modified system maintained proper sanitation standards. They'll serve their sentences through community service, Wu Jin decided. They can help implement the system they accidentally helped create. Justice and practicality working together. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Miran's theft had triggered the development of technology that would benefit every human colony in the galaxy. Her attempt to take what didn't belong to her had inadvertently helped create something that would belong to everyone. As word spread throughout the sector, delegations from other colonies began requesting visits to study Ji-hoon's system. Alien traders who had been skeptical of human engineering capabilities suddenly showed new interest in human-designed infrastructure solutions. 6 months after the infamous Sewage incident, a massive transport ship descended through New Terra's atmosphere, its hull gleaming with the official insignia of the Galactic Engineering Council. The vessel was twice the size of regular colony supply ships, designed to carry delegations of the galaxy's most brilliant minds to ceremonies of exceptional importance. Ji-hoon stood in his best formal attire, watching the ship's landing thrusters kick up clouds of red dust across the spaceport. He still couldn't quite believe that his angry response to vegetable theft had somehow earned him recognition from the most prestigious engineering organization in known space. The ship's cargo. They opened with a hydraulic hiss and outstepped representatives from dozens of different species. The Centauri delegation wore their traditional crystalline breathing apparatus, while the aquatic Delphians moved in specialized mobility suits filled with their home world's methane-rich atmosphere. When the mysterious Void Walkers had sent an emissary, their energy-based consciousness contained within a sophisticated holographic projection unit. Council Chairman Zixathara approached Ji-hoon with movements that resembled a graceful dance. The insectoid being's translator device hummed softly as it converted her clicking speech into standard galactic common language. Engineer Kim Jun of New Terra, her translated voice announced. The Galactic Engineering Council recognizes your achievement in transforming a personal dispute into a technological breakthrough that benefits all intelligent life. Your innovation demonstrates the remarkable human capacity for creative problem-solving under adversity. The ceremony took place in New Terra's main assembly hall, packed with colonists, visiting dignitaries, and engineering students from across the sector. Holographic displays showed Ji-hoon's sewage routing system in three-dimensional detail, with data streams highlighting the efficiency improvements that had revolutionized waste management. Throughout human space, the Innovation Medal for Creative Problem-Solving is awarded to individuals who demonstrate exceptional ingenuity in unexpected circumstances, Chairman Zixathara continued. Your solution addressed not only the immediate security concern, but created cascading improvements that solved infrastructure problems across multiple colonies. As Ji-hoon accepted the gleaming medal, reports flooded in from human settlements throughout the galaxy. The Martian agricultural domes had implemented his system and reduced their power consumption by 40%. The Europa mining stations were processing waste from triple their original capacity without additional equipment. Even the generation ships heading toward distant star systems had retrofitted their environmental systems based on his designs. The medal ceremony was broadcast live across the galactic communication network, watched by billions of beings on thousands of worlds. For many alien species, it was their first real glimpse into human psychology and engineering philosophy. The concept of turning personal conflict into universal benefit fascinated civilizations that typically approached problems through committee consensus or rigid traditional methods. Dr. Kang Haijan had been promoted to Director of Colonial Infrastructure Development, overseeing the implementation of Ji-hoon's system across the expanding human frontier. She addressed the assembled crowd with enthusiasm that infected everyone present. This technology has already been installed on 47 colonies, with 60 more requesting implementation within the next year, she announced. Conservative estimates suggest we'll save enough energy to power 3 additional settlements. Without building new fusion reactors, the real surprise came when Miran approached the podium during the open testimony period. Her appearance had improved significantly since the night of the Sewage encounter, though she still flinched slightly whenever she passed near Ji-hoon's greenhouse. The weeks of mandatory community service had given her a new perspective on the value of individual innovation and hard work. I want to publicly apologize to Ji-hoon and acknowledge that my actions were wrong, she said, her voice carrying across the silent hall. I thought I was fighting for fairness, but I was really just taking what someone else had earned through years of effort and creativity. What happened that night taught me more about justice than any lecture ever could. Her words carried special weight because the other thieves had undergone similar transformations. Choi Dae-ho had become one of the most skilled technicians implementing the new waste management systems. Lee So-man now coordinated communication between colonies sharing technical specifications. Yang Yoonji had developed new medical protocols for maintaining sanitation in improved processing facilities. The ceremony concluded with an announcement that transformed Ji-hoon's farm into something unprecedented in galactic history. The council established the new Terra Institute for Applied Problem Solving, with Ji-hoon's greenhouse complex as its headquarters. Students and researchers from across known space would come to study human approaches to engineering challenges. Within weeks, the first alien engineering students arrived. Young Centauri crystalline forms practiced thinking outside traditional mathematical frameworks. Delphian fluid dynamics specialists learned to consider emotional motivations in technical solutions. Even the logical Andromedan artificial intelligences sent representative programs to analyze human creativity algorithms. Ji-hoon found himself teaching classes to beings he had only read about in colonial survey reports. His lessons focused not just on technical specifications but on the human ability to find opportunity within adversity. The sewage trap became a case study in converting negative emotions into positive outcomes. The farm itself flourished beyond his wildest dreams. Alien students helped him develop new growing techniques that combined human innovation with technologies from across the galaxy. His tomatoes now grew in zero gravity using Voidwalker energy manipulation. His peppers incorporated flavor compounds suggested by the taste-sensitive Rigelians, D&D.